This is a hardcore scientist. So my very, very good friend, Russell Targ.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. My name is Russell Targ. I'm a physicist, and it's my great pleasure to tell you about the remarkable work we did at Stanford Research Institute investigating psychic abilities. We did that for the CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, NASA, and many, many other intelligence agencies, part of the U.S. government intelligence system. The work we did at SRI involved things like finding a downed Russian airplane in North Africa with code books on it, locating a kidnapped American general in northern Italy, looking into a Soviet weapons factory in Soviet Siberia, describing the construction of a huge Soviet submarine in northern Russia, and we even looked in on a Chinese atomic bomb test 3 days before it was scheduled to go off, and described correctly that it was going to fail. So we did quite a lot of useful things for the government during our 23-year program. The ability we're talking about is a natural psychic ability that we all have. The ability allows you to quiet your mind and describe an experience what's happening in the future, and you can do that independent of the distance. Particularly, it pertains to the fact that we live in a non-local space-time, described scientifically most recently by Schrödinger in the 1920s, and then proved in the 1970s and 1980s. So the idea of non-local connections is not new age. Physicists are taking over what used to be called parapsychology. 3 leaders of the program were myself and Hal Puthoff, who are both laser physicists, and Ed May, who is a nuclear physicist. And we were eager that our scientific friends would not think that we'd gone off the rails into ESP research, so we made sure that we published everything we did, all of our experiments, in the world's most prestigious journals where we would normally publish our science. So we published our work in the Proceedings of the Institute of Electrical Engineers, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the American Institute of Physics, and Nature magazine. We were once called by the Berkeley Police Department, where Patricia Hearst was kidnapped, and they said, "We're so desperate, can you help us with your ESP program?" It shows how desperate they were. And Pat Price, I want to see the picture book with all the usual suspects. He turned the page after page, and said, "That's the guy, that's the ringleader." I said, "Would you like to know where the kidnapped car is?" And they said, "You're kidding." He said, "Well, so if you drive about 50 miles north on Bayshore Free on Highway 101, the kidnapped car is a white station wagon. It's on the right, parked by a diner across from 2 large white gas storage cylinders in the pedestrian overpass across the freeway." And one of the detectives said, "Well, I know where that is. That's on my way to my home in Vallejo." 20 minutes later, they had found the car, and there are still cartridges rolling around on the floor of the car. So this is the first in a series of experiments we did over a course of a decade. We were supported by CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency and told to press on, and we pressed on for another 15 years. And they set up the Psychic Army Corps and ran another 15 years. They had 30 people on the East Coast working in tandem with the SRI group. And my opinion is that the most important thing you can do with remote viewing is discover who you are. Now, it's important for me to tell you that remote viewing is not a spiritual path. But if you learn to quiet your mind and move your awareness into timeless awareness, you are likely to begin to experience things that surprise you, give you another view of reality. For example, if you look in the mirror in the morning and think that who you see in that mirror is who you really are, you're in for a lot of suffering, in my experience. My invitation for you is to explore this transcendent place, and then as a scientist next year you can come back and tell us what you experienced. Hey, thank you.